Alright guys, welcome back to another week of the Heartland show here on Midwest Whitetail. Today is September 7th, Labor Day 2020, and I'm here on my farm with Emma, as you can see, and my dad. And we are getting the fall plots, finishing up the fall plots for the year. I talked about it last week that I'm a little later than I like to be on these fall plots, but that was just because we were so dry. So there was no point in putting that seed in the ground, without the rain in the forecast, and it just was non-existent. So Saturday night into Sunday here in my area of northern Illinois, we were blessed with 3 inches of rain. So the soils worked up nice today. We've planted several plots already, and we're getting this autumn quick plot in the ground. So I specifically wanted to show you guys this plot just because this is an area I think you'll see us hunt a lot this fall, and that's due to a specific buck. We'll be targeting Shredder here. Shredder is a buck you guys probably remember from years past. He's been on the farm for a while, and I've always talked about him and hunted him on the south side of my farm. But last year at 6.5, he kind of moved over here to the north side for the first time ever, really. So, and this spot just makes sense for a deer like that. There's lots of doe bedding, and it's just tons of natural travel corridor for these bucks to cruise come the fall. So, Brad and I actually are going to hang a set in this tree line behind me here, and hunt this area. We'll be about 40 yards off the plot, so we're not necessarily hunting the plot specifically, but definitely this area. The deer just, it's a normal spot for these deer to be moving at in daylight come fall. So, and the last plot, the new one I introduced to you guys last week, that's the plot that we're planning specifically for Dirty Mike. So we're gonna get that one in the ground, and then Emma is gonna shoot her crossbow. I'm excited to let you guys know that Emma will be hunting this year for the first time ever. So, and the beautiful thing about the footage, filming these hunts is, I'll personally be able to look back on these forever. So that's another big bonus to it. So we're gonna wrap this one up and head over to the last plot, get that one in the ground, and have some fun. Hey, what do you think? How was that? Were you nervous? All the plots are planted. It feels great to finish that last fall plot, all the fall plots. We're gonna practice every night now until October 1st, and we'll take more time if we need it, but I'm feeling a lot better than I did a week ago. Tree stands, I always kind of work on them into October just because I don't hunt October as much. So feeling good about that, but we'll keep checking cards, and I'll definitely check in with you guys here next week, and we'll get Brad on here for the first time this year. So thanks for watching another week's episode of the Heartland Show here on Midwest Whitetail, and we'll catch you right back here next week.
Bye.
Good job, girl. Yeah. Proud of you.
Morning, guys. It is Labor Day weekend here. It's actually Monday, and Caleb and I are down here on one of my river bottom farms this morning. It's actually one of the spots I'm planning on youth hunting this year, but on the way back there I wanted to talk about my other river bottom farm, back place I call the Bottoms, and I want to talk about a few of the deer that I'm going to be chasing down there this year. I just want to introduce these because we might possibly be going after them during youth season. So first deer I want to talk about is a buck I call Splits. Last year were the first pictures I had of him, and I was hoping to pick him back up this summer, and he hasn't shown up a ton, but I have got one series of pictures to let me know that he is still down there, and he got quite a bit bigger. He's a big mainframe 10 with a few splits and stickers, so that'll be a fun deer to go after. And then the next deer is he's kind of a wide 10-point, kind of spindly tined, not very short tines at all, but he's a 5-year-old as well. The last deer down there that is mature that I know of right now is a 6-year-old that I actually hunted. Me and Caleb went down there and hunted him late season, and he's not much for a rack. I mean, he's an 8-point, maybe 110, 120 inches, but he's just a nice, solid, mature deer. And besides youth season, I'm not really planning on hunting this property a whole lot. My goal going into that property this year was to set it up for late season, and that's exactly what I did. In front of the redneck this year, I've got a big Milo stand. It's looking really good, starting to put on some heads, and then I got some big and beastie that, fortunately, I talked about, I put in some wells this year, some sandpoint wells, and able to water these plots, and they're actually coming up really good now, but we did just get a big rain, and then I got some clover in there as well. But a little bit further down where I was hunting that 6-year-old, one at older 8-point last year as a 5-year-old. I actually got some beans in there, got them planted late, and they're looking really, really good. So I'm excited for this farm late season. Like I said, I could possibly be hunting down there in youth season with Donovan, but I mean, we're almost back here to this spot, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about this here just in a second. I'm really looking forward to hunting this property youth season. I was running cameras here last year, and there was a nice buck. He had one split G3, mainframe 10, but a very solid deer. This year, I came in with the idea, this kind of being the buck I wanted to go after with Donovan early youth season. And so I put up some cameras here in July, and this is actually that buck was the first buck that showed up. He's got a very similar frame to last year, but this year he's got two split G3s or a split G3 on both sides, and like I said, just a very solid deer, a deer that I really think we can get Donovan on. But one thing that I hope to do different this year with that deer was to give him some more reason to either stay here later or just come out on this side of the property, because it's kind of just a big peninsula, big bedding, and then you got ag out here to the north and one little opening back in here in the trees, and it made for a perfect spot to put a food plot. So me and Kaleb actually came back in here, we sprayed everything, and then once that was dead, we came in and burned and then broadcast some big and beastie. And I actually haven't been back to see that plot since we planted it. We've only gotten a couple rains on it, so I'm not sure how it's gonna look yet, but we'll check that out here in a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this camera checked, and hopefully that buck's still on it. There he is, on the third. Oops, that split. Alright guys, we just made it back here to the plot, and like I said, this is the plot I actually put in for this buck. Unfortunately, like I said, we haven't got a whole lot of rain, so it isn't looking so great yet, but we did just get a couple rains last week, and there is a lot of little shoots just starting to come out of the ground. So I think we'll have a decent stand here. I don't know how much or how many bulbs it'll put out, but there should be some green here for him a little bit later in the season. But with that being said, this buck, like I said, we just got him on camera. He's in here quite a bit, but he's staying out on that bean edge, and he's there about 9 o'clock. And I don't think we're gonna be able to kill that deer right here in this spot, just because I don't think he's using it early enough. So we're gonna go move a camera. I need to get a couple more cameras on this ground, but we're gonna hook the Cuddelink up. We're gonna put it down on the other side of this bean field and see if he's coming out there a little bit earlier, and hopefully get a better daylight pattern on this buck, so when it does come time to hunt him during youth season, we can be a little bit more in the game. And like I said, we know he's living here. One other thing I did want to mention with these plots is, with it being so dry, one thing we've noticed this year, especially on a drought year, the more thatch you can have on the ground, the better. Because like with this plot, we burned it and exposed all the soil, and that really stuff did not start coming up till we got that rain. But just here behind me on this lane, I just didn't even burn. I just sprayed and planted it right there, and it's coming up pretty good there. So that's one thing we've definitely taken away from this year, is more open soil definitely isn't a good thing. So come with us. We're gonna put this other camera up. Alright guys, so we just walked down this bean edge and got a little bit close to where we think this deer might be coming out, and we got it rain about 2 nights ago, and there's 2 fresh scrapes right here. A couple of the first ones we've seen this year actually, so hopefully this is where this deer's coming out. We just hung a camera up. We're gonna leave it here for about a week, and if we don't catch him here, we'll move it again, and like I said, we're just going to keep moving until we can find his, where he's bedding, or at least get him on daylight and give us a chance at him come youth season. So stick with us. It should be a pretty fun chase on this deer.
Well guys, we're just wrapping stuff up at Collins' place, and since we're on the topic of youth season, I guess we better talk about what deer I'll be chasing here in the next couple weeks with the kiddos. A couple months back, I actually put a camera up on a farm that I call the Prospect Farm, and last year Josh and I actually hunted that farm in late November and had a lot of really good action. But I went back there to put a camera up, and lo and behold, a few familiar faces showed up, and one of them being the Tallbrow 10. And I went out there, it was in July I think, with Collins, and we actually filmed that deer from probably 100-150 yards away. And I've filmed that deer and seen that deer 3 times now in person, every time I've actually gone there. And we actually just recently went there last week with Casey, my girlfriend, and we saw him at a distance, but not good enough footage to use. But since youth season is 2 weeks away, and this should hit you guys before youth season comes around, I want to talk about a few things that Collins and I do like to look for. Biggest thing is scouting. You got to find beans or some kind of green source. In the past, that's what Collins and I have had all of our success on, is some kind of green source. And if you can find some beans that are still green, like what Collins has his cameras up over today, that is ideal. And getting cameras in there like these Cudellinks is so huge. But one last thing that I want to mention with those cameras is, like you guys saw today, Collins only had nocturnal pictures, nighttime pictures right now. And we know that these deer come out to feed, and you have to just keep moving your cameras around to certain spots, different spots, because you could move a camera 100 yards away or 20 yards away and you could have that deer on daylight. It's crazy to think, but it's happened more times than Collins and I can count. But season's almost here. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to chase some really nice deer this year, and stay tuned. It's going to be an awesome season. It's going to be a really, really good season.
Welcome to another year of Midwest Whitetail, the Heartland. Zach and I are just getting out to a farm that we call Pete's. I got a little bit of work ahead of us today before the season gets started. This farm's a large agricultural farm we've hunted in the past, but haven't focused too much on it. It's got a real long ridge line on the far side here, just full of oak trees, always a long scrape line through it, and we're hoping to spend a little more time down here this year. We're going to head down, work on some plots, and hopefully get some good work done today.
All right, guys, we're just getting back here to this clover plot, and you know, I'm really happy with what it looks like this year. This is actually a plot that we kind of freshened up last year. It had been a clover plot for several years, but just really hadn't been maintained really well.
This isn't a farm we've hunted a whole lot in the past, but the nice thing about this place for us, it's the only farm that Zach and I can both hunt on. And so any given hunt out here, we might actually have both bows up in the tree, where one of us might be looking to fill a doe tag and the other one might have a buck we're chasing.
Yeah, and I just think that that's something that's really unique to our story, you know, moving forward. Is just both having permission on this farm, because, you know, Nolan has a young family that he has in front of him right now, so time is, you know, definitely something that's you know, a priority for us. You know, want to make sure we take advantage of that time, and in all honesty, this is a really great farm, and it's just the only reason why we haven't hunted it is we have other great farms that we hunt as well. So we're hoping to make this farm a bigger priority, and we got a laundry list of projects we want to get done before season, and I'm sure we won't get them all done, but I'm excited to kind of chip away at that today, get a few cameras hung up on this great ridge line, and you know, season will be here, you know, before we know it.
Should we get it mowed?
Let's get it mowed.
All right, let's do it.
You know, one of the things that I'm sure some people are going to laugh at is what we're actually using to mow this clover plot with today. We're just using a zero-turn mower. You know, neither Nolan and I have a ton of farm equipment or implements that we use for any of our food plot work, so we rely on family, friends, whoever, you know, just doing a lot of favors. And I tell you what, this mower, for example, works great. You know, we just try to put that mower deck up at about 4.5, 5 inches for the clover plots, and it works great for, you know, just getting it mowed and then, you know, kind of keeping it lush for this upcoming season. It's always great if you have a scrape that's occurred in the past, you know, and you can kind of just year after year put cameras over that. But if you're wanting to make your own scrapes, you know, a lot of times what's good to do is find oak tree limbs, red oak, bur oak, white oaks, you know, those tend to work really well. You can just take a small branch, as long as you're on private land, and then hang those in those locations that you're wanting to create a scrape. It seems that the deer are really drawn to those specific oak species. I've tried walnuts in the past, but the acidity in them seems to push them away from the scrapes. So we're going to take off just a little bit of this oak tree limb, and we're going to hang it on a scrape that we've used in the past. One of the things I like to do as I finish up these scrapes is just disturb the dirt just a little bit. It seems like the deer really notice that ground disturbance, and then it makes them hit these scrapes even more. And then if you do have any type of deer lure whatsoever, you can dump those in the scrapes. There's a lot of products out there that you can utilize for this as well. But even just disturbing the ground itself, that seems to do the trick.
we're just finishing up out here. Zach's got the last of the cameras hung over top of another mock scrape. We did put a couple new plots in out here this fall, but with August being so dry, it was really rough, and they're not looking great, but we're going to keep an eye on them. Within the next week or so, we're going to sneak back out here, check these cameras, make sure they're in good spots, and really hoping to find a deer back we called McAfee. He was a good young buck last year, and if he's still around, he's definitely going to make a jump towards the top of our hit list this year.
Hey guys, welcome to the 2020 Midwest Whitetail Heartland Series. I'm out here today in eastern Iowa on my permission farm. It's only about 6 or 7 acres of timber, but it's particularly early in the season, it's got an opportunity to hold a couple of pretty good bucks. Last year there was a buck that we were calling Dime that was showing up throughout September and October. And the landowner here does shotgun hunt, so typically I try to get in here the first month of the year and see if I can capitalize then. The landowner did put up a redneck blind here a couple years ago, so that's helped a little bit, just keeping everybody's scent and movement concealed a little bit better. Goal for today though, I'm gonna get a couple of Cuddelink cameras up and a little bit of corn in front of them, just so I can get a quick inventory of what might be living around here. There's a couple of nice deer here last year. One that we were calling Dime, that was just a real solid deer. And then one that showed up a little bit later in the year called Muley. That was just a really unique looking buck, kind of reminded me of a mule deer. So we're gonna get a couple of cameras up, just check the stands and the blind and everything, since we had that windstorm here a couple weeks ago, and then do a little bit of trimming and shooting lanes and just making sure everything's ready to go for October 1st. Depending on what shows up, we might get another early muzzleloader tag, either for myself or for my wife, to see if we can get her first deer. But I think personally, my main mission for the year is to get another urban buck on the ground. I was able to get a pretty nice one last year, and then after I had already taken my urban buck, I filmed probably a 150-inch 8-pointer on one of the urban zones. I had a really nice another deer showing up, and then so far this year I've got some cameras up, and in one of the public or the city-owned urban spots, there's 2 potential shooters showing up already. So I think the key for me in my season is going to be just be mobile, read the information that the Cuddelink cameras are sending me, and when there's a shooter buck moving around on any one of these few acre parcels that I have planned to hunt, just be ready to move as soon as the deer are, and hopefully we can capitalize. So should be a fun year. Have the potential to get 3 bucks between the statewide muzzleloader and the urban buck tag. So should be an exciting one, and only 2 weeks away now from sitting in an urban tree stand. So it's just around the corner. Stay tuned, guys.